am live. I am live. I am live. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Questions with Nyime live. Today we're talking about friendships. Basically speaking about the question we had yesterday and the question we have today. So the question yesterday was, do we use the term friend too easily? And the question today was, what are the 3 characteristics that make a good friend? Or what are 3 characteristics that make a good friend? So by no means is it an exhaustive list. As the idea of it is to list some of the non-negotiables, I think, when it comes to being a good friend, both on the side of how you pour into friendship, but also how somebody else pours into friendship with you. So I'm going to wait another minute or so for some people to jump on here, and then we'll get started. Today has been a good day. Hallelujah. And the rest of the week will also be blessed. This is the last day of February. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? But I'm grateful. The year is already flying by. February was a great month. That's my birthday month. I went to Paris with my family. And yes, it was great. Hello, hello, hello. Yes, it was great. February was a great month for me. Hope it was a great month for you. Hey, Annie. Was it a great month for you? I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. Hello, husband. How are you? But yes, I'm looking forward to March and all that March has to offer. March is the kind of, we're closer and closer to spring, less cold weather, more sunshine. I mean, what more could we want? Yes, it was a fantastic month, actually. I can't believe that it's just ending now. I feel like it hasn't gone as quick. It has gone quick, but it hasn't at the same time. But hi babe, kisses to you too. But yeah, it's been great. It's been great. 2023 is shaping up to be a great year. And yeah, let's keep the momentum going, as they say. But yeah, it is 8:33. We're going to get started talking about friends. So I posed 2 questions. The first question was, do we use the term friend too easily, which I've pinned there in the comments. And the second question was the one that I posed today, which was, what are the 3 characteristics that make a good friend? So we'll talk about the first question first. Do we use the term friend too easily? Now I'm going to say, and maybe it's to do with personality actually, but I'm going to say a categoric yes. I do think the term friend is used too easily, as I'm learning in my later years that what makes up a friend, not even necessarily a good friend or close friend, but what I think if I'm going to use that term to describe somebody, I'm not going to, it's the person has to be somebody that exhibits certain characteristics. Because I truly believe that, but probably the majority of relationships are probably acquaintances. Like, you're jovial with people, you get on with people, maybe you have, friends, quote unquote, at work, but you're not really like friends. You're acquaintances. Like, you have work in common, or you have maybe another hobby or interest in common, but you're not really like friends like that. And I think that's something I learned from my husband. Actually, he was the one that said that, introduced that idea to me of friends being a term that is applied discriminately. And yeah, I think from that point I started thinking about it way more. And I, being a mom now, having little children, I find that when watching their shows, you can kind of see how children start to understand what friendship is. Because, like, for example, the other day I took my children to a soft play place, and we were having lunch there, and my son pointed to another child who was further out in the distance, and he was like, "Oh, mommy, that's my friend." And I'm like, "Your friend?" And in my mind I'm thinking someone that you actually like know, maybe someone from school or someone that we know and we see on a regular basis. But he was like, "No, that's my friend." So I turned and I was like I pointed like this boy, and he was like, "Yeah, that's my friend." And I'm like, "How did you even where did you meet this boy?" Where did you meet this boy? And he said, "Oh, that they were playing together in the soft play place." And I was just like, "Oh, right, okay, that's interesting." And as a mom, sometimes you want to kind of just like dispel these concepts or break these concepts down for your children, so that as they're coming up in life, they understand that not everybody that you're, kind of friendly with is your friend as such. Like, someone that you've just met is not necessarily your friend. But it made me think about how we learn what friends are. Do you know what I mean? This person is my friend, or that person is my friend, but are they really? Is that really who they are? Are they just acquaintances? Are they someone that you just gotten on with for that period in time, and then that's it? We kind of we move forward. But yes, I do think we use the term friend too easily. What do you guys think, who are here on the live? Let me know your thoughts. I think that personality, like I mentioned, comes into it, because I lean more towards extroversion, which means that I can be energized by people. In the past, I'm energized by relating with people. I love that whole thing, and so it's easy to kind of make friends, as in it's easy to be pally with people. It's easy to get to know somebody, at least on a superficial level. But for those people who may be a bit more insular, who may be more introverted, perhaps, they're less likely to have so many people around who they would call friends because of their personality type. I don't know. What do you guys think who are here? I do think personality has something to do with it. I think if you are generally a magnetic person, so there's just something about you. Like, everyone knows somebody like that, where they just know loads of people and loads of people know them. And they're not even necessarily extroverts. They just have something about them that is attractive to people. Perhaps when it comes to friends, they might find themselves, giving the term to these people indiscriminately. Is that the right word? Yeah, indiscriminately. So I don't know, does personality have something to do with it? But yeah, I do think that we do use the term too easily. I think it's important to assess what being a friend is all about. I think when it comes to friendship, there should be a level of commitment. And so it's not like it's a contract, or there's like any sort of contractual obligation. But I think definitely looking at the fruit that is born by a person, and also assessing your own fruit as well, because it's not just about what someone pours into friendship with you, but what you pour into friendship with somebody else. But kind of assessing who a person is, kind of like being more observant before you attach that title to somebody. Like, you can be pally with somebody, but then they're just an acquaintance. They're just somebody that you see, you might even see them on a regular basis, but you're not actually friends. And I think for me, more recently, that term is so much more weighted, and I'm not giving it just to anybody anymore, because I think that there's certain criteria that I know I require before I'm gonna say, oh, this person is my friend. Do you get what I mean? And I know that people use the term friend differently. I'm talking about it from a perspective of, like, I guess my definition, but then for some people, they have different categories. I know that, like, if I'm going to drop the kids at school, there might be, parent friends that I have, or there might be people have work friends, or they have I don't know, whatever you're doing. You have different categories, essentially. But I guess it's just one of the easier terms to use to communicate that, okay, I'm pally with this person. But I definitely do think that the term is used too easily. And I think that it starts from how children oftentimes are taught to use it. Like, you go to school with somebody every single day, they're your friend. Or like you see somebody, I don't know, at church, or I don't know, whatever social community club you got going on, you see somebody regularly and they're your friend. But I personally think that it should be more weighted. What do you guys think? Let me know, put it in the comments below. But yeah, I do think the term is used too easily. It'll be helpful, I guess, to break down what the different, like, how relating with people would be labeled in different contexts. So I think that, for example, there's people who talk about going to work and their work colleagues are not able to follow them on social media, which essentially means that, like, who I am at work is who I am at work, but then that's not me. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't really want you to know me. I want there to be a bit of distance between you and me. So I've heard that people don't necessarily allow their work colleagues to come on and follow them on Instagram. Again, that might be because, again, they're not really friends. So if they see you do anything that's questionable or whatever, then it can easily get reported. So perhaps that's protecting oneself. But yeah, that's an area of I guess demarcation that people can make. I definitely think the word acquaintance is a great word. Like, pally with you, see you on a regular basis, we have conversation, but are we friends though? I don't know. I don't really think so. So acquaintance is a good one. Friend term is used too easy, but I think as people mature emotionally, they get a bit more protective of the term. I agree with that. I do think as you get older, well, hopefully getting older is correlates with maturing emotionally, but because it doesn't always do that. But yeah, I do think that you probably go through things as well with friends, as well, different situations that makes you realize actually not everybody I call friend is actually friend. But anyway, but I agree with that. I do think it's used too easily. So I guess that's why children, like my son, call everybody that they're pally with friend, because it's still understanding life a bit. It's not as emotionally mature as he will be when he gets older. So but yeah, that's that comment. What was I saying now? Yeah, acquaintance. I think that's definitely a term that is way broader. I think I could put the majority of people, not the majority, yeah, a good majority of people in that term acquaintance, to be honest with you. Because yeah, I think the term friend is too weighted. It's too weighted for me, particularly. But yeah. Okay. What time are we on now? 8:43. Okay, let's move on to the next question. The next question is, what are 3 characteristics that make a good friend? I'd love to hear from you guys that are on the chat right now. Some of the characteristics, the top 3. I mean, obviously it's not an exhaustive list, but the top 3 that you think make up a good friend. For me personally, the first one, I did write my notes. Let me get it. One second, guys. Okay, the first one, which is not necessarily like the most important. So it's not like, yeah, like this is in order of importance. I would say the first one is someone that I can be myself with. I think that's a characteristic, that if I can be myself around you, like I don't have to I don't have to pretend. Like I can just be. Like I think there's a level of being that is synonymous with being at home. So I guess if you can be yourself with somebody, that is definitely a big thing for me. Hopefully that is a reciprocal thing as well. So not only can you be yourself around the person, but that person could be themselves around you. Ease, the friendship isn't always draining, trustworthy and real. Love that. Yeah, draining friendships are, that's not easy. And I think it's difficult if you lean more towards empathy as a person. If someone's calling you and they're calling you because they're going through something, and they always call you when they're going through something. I remember I had that just to digress a little bit, where someone would always call me when they needed like spiritual support. So they needed to pray for them, or they needed to talk to me about something spiritual. And I guess I was flattered by it, because obviously, you know, I'm a spiritual person. I have a relationship with the Almighty, and you know, and I'm pouring into that relationship. I'm pursuing him every single day. But then the person would always call, and they wouldn't even necessarily like explain why they might need prayer. They'll just be like, can you just pray for me? And I was like, okay, all right, I will. Because, you know, how can I withhold prayer from somebody? Do you know what I mean? I can't. So, but then that can be draining. If you feel like it's one-sided, if someone's always calling to get something from you, but they're never really thinking about, like, even asking you how you are, really and truly, like every time they call, it's just about them. Yeah, that's not what we want, to be honest with you, particularly in 2023 at the age I'm at now. But yeah, someone I could be myself with. I say the second one is somebody who is who can be honest with me, and I can be honest with them, and I think that's important. I'm somebody that I've had to work on, like over the years. Had to work on being able to take the honesty that people can give me sometimes, because, you know, like the Bible says, a wise man will love you if you tell them the truth, if you correct them. I wasn't always dwelling in that wisdom. There was a little bit of foolishness in there. So I had to, you know, really, like, you know, by the grace of God, like build up that structure to be able to receive the honesty, knowing that it's going to make me better. And obviously coming from people who are not like people who love you, do you know what I mean? But I do think that is important in a relationship, that you're able to have a conversation with somebody about things that are important. You can be honest with a person whenever you need to. I think that's important. And I think segueing on from that, yeah, somebody who can tell you the truth. Yeah, they can tell you the truth. They're not doing the PC business, the political correctness business. They're actually telling you what God, and, you know, and out of love as well. All these things are done out of love. We hope and pray. And the third thing, my notebook has disappeared, so I'm trying to remember what the third thing was. I think somebody that has is empathetic, but then there's room to make mistakes, and there's room to grow. Basically, there's room to make mistakes, room to grow. So someone who's gracious, I guess. I think that's really important. I think that's important. I think that, you know, nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. As much as somebody may have offended me, I've probably offended people as well. I think I would caveat that and say that I do think there are non-negotiables. I think everybody has different non-negotiables in friendships. There's certain things I know for me are deal breakers. You know how people have deal breakers when they're like, if they're dating somebody. I feel like even in friendships, I think there's certain things that are just, there's not really any coming back from this. Yeah, there's that certain things that, yeah, there's no coming back from this. It was great while it lasted, but, you know, I think it's time to move on. But yeah, trustworthy and real. I think that's great. Yeah, you want to be able to trust the person. That is a big one. You want to be able to confide in them, knowing that, you know, they're not carrying your business around the world, in essence. Yeah, and I think somebody that, yeah, you just vibe with as well. I think that's really, really, really key. And how would I explain vibing with somebody? I think it is about being yourself around them, being able to chat to them about anything, really, and not feel away about that. I think that's important in terms of good characteristics, or the characteristics of a good friend. I don't know if anybody else is on here that wants to comment on what they think the characteristics are. It's interesting, actually, when I thought about this topic for the week, there was little things that came up on Instagram about, not even just on Instagram, actually. There was like a Bible verse of the day yesterday that was talking about friends, and the version that I read said, a man who has many friends will be brought to ruin. But there is a friend or a loving one that sticks closer than a brother, right? And I felt it was really impacting for me, or impactful, should I say, for me, because of the topic I was going to be talking about this week. And how, yeah, I guess when you are, like you said, any emotionally immature, you're kind of growing in that space, you kind of let anybody in type thing. I know I did. I just let people in. And even though like you may have negative experiences and you think that you're kind of you've put a boundary up. Like for me, if someone was just to knock on my door hard enough, like I'd be like, okay, fine. Yeah, so I've definitely learned my lesson when it comes to like how I interact with people in a friendship, in friendship, how I attach the term friend to people, who I attach the term friend to. But yeah, I really like that verse. Proverbs is full of like so much wisdom, and I found that it was a great verse to meditate on yesterday and today, to be honest with you. Ultimately, the one who sticks closer than a brother is the Almighty, is Yah, is God, and you know, no matter what we're going through, we can always rely on him. But I also love the fact that it talks about friendship, a friend sticking closer than a brother. A brother is someone that you have a blood relation with, right? They're probably, your family members are probably the closest people that there are to you. And so to have somebody who's a friend who's sticking closer than a brother or a sister, as in, that's a high level of commitment right there. Do you get what I mean? That's a whole nother level. That's a whole nother level. And yeah, and it just made me think about how, you know, prayerful, you know, I have been, I intend to be about who I interact with and who I relate with and who I call my friend, because in these streets, yeah, let me just tell you, there are people, there are high level manipulators in the streets, you know. One minute they can be your friend, or they can be your friend. And then twos now, you find out that they were really a snake. A real snake in the grass. You know? A real snake in the grass. So, so yeah, I found myself being more prayerful about it and just really asking, you know, Yah to show me, who is for me, which friendships I should be building or engaging in, who I need to, you know, maybe friendships I need to put boundaries in, you know, just because sometimes you've been friends with someone for so long that it's like, even though you may have grown apart, you don't really have anything in common. Like if you were to meet right now, you wouldn't necessarily be friends, but you just kind of, you keep those relationships going. And sometimes it's like, well, you know, I mean, there's something to be said for longevity in relationships, but sometimes it's a thing whereby it's actually like, what? Yeah, we don't really have anything in common anymore. Do you get what I mean? What's tying me to this relationship is just history, essentially. And I'm not saying that people should now, you know, cut off all their friends from back in the day or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, in terms of recognizing who should be in your life, who shouldn't be in your life at any given time, I don't think the length of time that someone has been in your life should be like a major factor in that. A major factor in that assessment is what I'm saying. So, yeah. Any other comments from you lovely people on this live before I wrap it up? Let me see where that verse is that I mentioned. I'm just on my laptop. Just give me 1 second. A man who has many friends. Okay, yeah, Proverbs 18:24. Proverbs 18:24. A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there's a friend that sticks closer than a brother. And so I think for me, yeah, that said what it needed to say. It was kind of like affirming where I was at with this whole notion of friendship. I also want to ask a question as well, because obviously as we grow up and we become more emotionally mature, like you were saying, and we don't just use the term so easily as we may have done when we were younger. How how does one navigate friendships as an adult? Because when you were younger, obviously you went to school, maybe you went to, college, university, you had all these, institutions of learning where you came across so many people, and perhaps it was easier to make friends when you're younger. But as you get older, as you get to know yourself more, you're more aware of your strengths, your weaknesses, the things that you enjoy, the direction you're going in life, what your purpose is, all these things. How do people find making friends as adults? I'd love to hear from you guys on the chat. So I guess I'll start. For me, I genuinely think when it comes to meeting people, I'm a very bubbly person, right? And I can chat to anybody respectfully. And I think I have a vibe whereby people talk to me and they share their whole life story with me. And it's happened to me so many times. And times I'm just like, why is this person speaking to me? I met someone, I was waiting for a train one time, and I missed the train. I had to sit down, and there was this old elderly man sitting next to me. So I just telling me his whole life. I was just like, I don't understand what impression I gave you for you to now be speaking to me about your life. But I find that, yeah, it's people want to be my friend, but I'm just a lot more cautious now. Like someone I met at my son's school, and so she's got another she's got a little boy in my son's class, a fellow black woman, and she was saying how she called me one time, and I saw her calling me, and I was like, why are you calling me? I don't know. That sounds really bad, but I was kind of like, okay, all right then, because I didn't think we had that level of relationship. In all honesty, like I probably wouldn't pick up the phone and call her. I'd probably message her, like text, WhatsApp. So she called me, and I was just like, oh, okay. And I was just like, and she was like, oh, I want to be speaking more, and I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't, in my head, I'm thinking, at this moment in time, and I really had to address it with myself, like, am I in a season of like no new friends type of thing? Because sometimes I feel like that, like I'm not really trying to get to know anybody deeply like that, if you get what I mean. And that might be because we go through things when it comes to friendships, but I just feel like navigating that navigating friendships and making friends as an adult is different. And obviously I've got children as well, so I'm also mindful of them, their well-being, who they're around, and so on and so forth. So but yeah, I'd love to hear from guys if you have any other further comments on that. But yeah, if not, we'll move swiftly on. Okay. But yeah, if there's no more comments, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up here. This has been another Questions with Nyime live session. It's been great. Thank you so much for joining. For those of you that joined, and for those of you that are going to watch later, I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of the things that we've discussed. Let me know what you think about the three things that make a good friend, the three characteristics you're looking for, or the top three things. And also, do we apply the term friend too easily? And if we do, how do we go about regulating that? Yeah, that's it really. But yes, thank you so much for joining. To those that have just joined, hello, Simi. I'm gonna post this on my Instagram now, and I'll probably post a recap tomorrow. But yeah, let's keep the conversation going. We're talking about friendship this week. Proverbs 18:24 is a great verse. Like I said, a man of many companions or many friends comes to ruin, but there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. Obviously, it's talking about God. However, I do believe that it gives us an indication that the term friend is not something to be applied indiscriminately. Okay, indiscriminately, that's what I'm looking for. But anyway, it's been great. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you on the next session on Friday at 8:30. See you later.